Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. We return to Lord Fett's palace, where Finnick is leading the last surviving assassin back for interrogation. It turns out that the assassin is in fact not a Wish.com Mortal Kombat Scorpion cosplayer, but part of the Night Wind Assassins, reputed for their devotion to Mortal Kombat. Finnick isn't impressed. She's seen better cosplay, and Boba decides that if Wish Scorpion won't talk, he really doesn't need his head anymore, does he? For some reason, death by beheading doesn't scare Scorpion Light, but death by the long-dead Rancor does, so he quickly says the mayor sent him to kill Lord Fett before finding out that, yes, the Rancor has been dead for 5 years. Boba's pissed at the prospect that the mayor did him dirty, so he casually strolls down the streets of Mos Espa looking like a total badass. Right up to the mayor's secretary, who's sporting one of the most awe-inspiring mullets ever seen in Star Wars. At least I'm imagining it's a mullet. I really can't tell with the hat there, but we can always dream, right? So Mullet Secretary tells Boba there's no Fett on the schedule, please leave. But the Major Domo apologizes. Heartfelt apologies. He steps in to clear things up. Once again, the mayor's not around, according to the Major Domo, and once again, he's extremely sorry. I'm starting to think that the mayor's more like the Wizard of Oz at this point, and apparently so does Fett, who's fed up. Fett says, screw this, I'm going in, and bypasses Mullet Man and his sidekick, the Major Domo. Spin-off, perhaps? The mayor's an Ithorian, also known as Hammerheads. Very cool aliens that go back to A New Hope. Boba goes up to him and he's like, what the hell, man? You know damn well who I am. You send this guy after me? And then all of a sudden a guard promptly kills the Night Wind Assassin, and a Mexican standoff then ensues. Or maybe it's just a standoff. I lose track of the rules for the various standoffs. Anyhow, the mayor's like, go to the Pleasure Palace. You'll get answers there. I didn't do jack. I didn't do you dirty. I didn't send this guy after you. So Boba's like, alright, well, I'll go see what's up there. We find ourselves in the Pleasure Palace, or the Sanctuary, or whatever they want to call it, and one of Garsa Fwip's employees, I'm going to assume she's an employee of various types of services. She sees Boba and company stroll in, and she gets a little concerned and alerts a concerned Fwip, who goes up to confront Boba. Boba's like, what the hell's going on here? I thought we were cool. You gave me a bunch of cash. I left. I thought things were good. Garsa's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to do that, but we've got big problems. The twins are back in town, and they aren't happy. And everybody's like, who are these twins we're speaking of? Just then, we get another cool shot of Max Rebo as he starts rocking out because the ominous sounds of drums are playing. Kind of like that scene in Lord of the Rings. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy. Everyone's tense, but Boba's not really. He just casually strolls out, but I don't think anything ever makes Boba tense at all. So he strolls out once again looking like a badass. Finally, the Fett that we've come to expect. Who are the twins? Nothing more than a male and female Hutt, breaking the backs of the poor servants carrying their litter. And they're not happy with Fett. This was Jabba's territory, even though he's been dead for 5 years, and for some reason just now they decide to claim it. I mean, they've had 5 years to do it, and they probably could have taken it from Bib Fortuna a lot easier than taking it from Fett, but I guess that's neither here nor there. They also bring along a bounty hunter, Black Krrsantan from the comics, also called BK by Dr. Aphra. He shows up looking awesomely menacing, and one of the cooler cameos we've had. I mean, they did a really good job with this Wookiee. He looks awesome. But at this point, Fett is flat out of Fett's to give and promptly says, what you gonna do about it, Hutts? You want this? You're gonna have to kill me. The twins think better of it after conversing about the situation, and I do want to say it's really cool to have the Hutts back in the mix. I mean, they are a huge part of Tatooine in the area, but for them, it's back to Nal Hutta for now. Long trip to Tatooine for nothing, and I imagine no one wants to go to Tatooine for any reason whatsoever. BK tries to stare down Boba, but Boba just stares back. Boba ain't got time for this. But why? It's back to the Bactapod, and you know what this means. Flashback! Honestly, though, I hope this episode is the last of those flashbacks, but here we are once again. We're now 5 years in the past. Boba is with the Tusken Raiders, and he's practicing a la Last Samurai with Warrior Tusken. He'd been getting his ass kicked, but he's channeled his inner Nathan Algren and finally fights to a draw as the kids watch on. Seriously, am I watching Last Samurai here? Because it definitely feels like it. Just then a train speeds across in the distance, and all of a sudden lasers fire out, striking Tuskens and a poor Bantha. What did that Bantha ever do to anyone? He was just a means of conveyance. However, later that night, Fett says he can stop the train. Tusken Elder says, no, you can't. Boba says, yes, I can. "Give me the night off," and so he leaves. In another triple cameo, we see Luke's favorite spot, Tashi Station, with two of his friends from a deleted scene that treated him with indifference, Cammy and Fixer, rocking those awesome 70s hairdos. Very nice cameo here as well. So Boba strolls in casually as the duo's just about to get their asses kicked, and Boba smells a fight. He casually starts beating the ever-loving piss out of the thugs in the Tashi Station, who have no clue who Boba is or what they did to piss him off, other than being there. I mean, they're just there for a drink and kind of mess with two kids in there that were being jerks, and all of a sudden this guy shows up in rags and he starts kicking their butts. Anyhow, after the fight, which he really didn't need a Bactapod after it to heal 5 years prior to needing one daily in the current future, he takes one of the thugs' drinks, finishes it, and walks out Western style. His reward? A bunch of speeder bikes. See where this is going? He starts training the Tuskens on how to use the speeders. Cue yakety sax. We also discover that bounty hunters are able to afford the best dental care in the galaxy, as Boba's pearly whites are the brightest thing on the entire planet, possibly the galaxy. Training starts out rough, but the Tuskens finally start to get it, and they do some cool acrobatics. All this happens before attacking the train once again, which shows up, and seriously, why bother with a hover train when you can just fly? I don't get it, but I guess it makes for a cool action sequence, right? Boba and his Tusken buddies assault the train Mad Max style. Actually, we've shifted from Last Samurai to Mad Max at this point. Don't worry, we still have one movie left to pay homage to. Of course, after this sequence is over. And after a lengthy fight, Boba and company stop the train in splendid fashion. And the Tuskens run to the train, despite the fact the train had been traveling, hundreds of miles per hour, and was likely dozens of miles away from them after the 5 to 10 minute fight scene, but we'll just forget about that for the sake of forgetting about it. We find out the people running the train are the infamous Pikes from the Pike Syndicate, who love running spice. Boba apparently hates spice. You gotta have a code, right? Anyhow, once again, if you're running spice, why not use something that, I don't know, flies? Instead of being on the ground, but, that's just me. Boba spares the Pikes and tells them they gotta pay a toll to move the spice he hates through Tusken territory, and sends them merrily on their way. Later that night, as a reward, Dr. Gonzo gifts Boba with a magic lizard that promptly flies up his nose and sends him on a trip worthy of a spin-off called Fear and Loathing in Tatooine. Boba sees a lot during this flashback/trip, and we get some cool scenes of a young Boba watching Jango fly off on Kamino. Really nice flashback right there. I kind of enjoyed seeing that. Very beautiful scene as well. After Boba wanders back carrying a giant stick he rips from a tree while high off his ass, the Tuskens retrieve the lizard. Boba now understands that 15 minutes can save him 15% on starship insurance. Boba is one with the Tuskens now. They dress him in the robes we see him wearing in The Mandalorian. And, this is the part of the episode where we move on to Dances with Wolves. Boba fully embraces his inner John Dunbar. After getting dressed, Boba takes his tree limb to the armorer, who teaches him how to make his gaffy stick, which we see him wreck face with in The Mandalorian. Armors are very important, apparently, as this is the second series to feature them prominently. After Boba makes his stick, it's official. He's one with the Tuskens now. Bounty what? They start to dance, and all is right in the world. End of episode. Overall, this episode was a massive improvement over the first episode. I actually really enjoyed it, and we finally got the stoic, defiant Fett in the first half of the episode that we came to expect. I still don't know why they just didn't make one episode about his time with the Tuskens and then flash forward. It's almost as if they didn't think an episode on Tuskens alone would carry the series or excite fans, but I feel what they did instead almost put people off completely with the first episode, so I think that plan kind of backfired. I do hope we're almost done with the flashbacks. I mean, this one was a little bit better, but I feel that they mess up with the pacing, and maybe we've only got about one more episode of them, and then everything else is permanently in the future. I would really prefer that, but we'll see where it goes. All in all, what I saw in this episode got me really excited for the coming episodes. Things finally appear back on track. I give this episode a solid 4 out of 5 Fets, and I want to know what you thought about this episode and what you rate it as. Thanks for watching, everyone. Zoop out.